Welcome to the channel. Imagine reaching into your change jar, feeling the cold edge of a coin, and unknowingly touching a piece of history so rare, so unfathomably valuable, that it could buy you a private island, a fleet of luxury cars, and still leave enough left over to live a dozen lifetimes in opulence. Because today, we're unraveling the astonishing story of the 2002 1-cent coin that stunned the numismatic world with a mind-bending price tag of $10 million, and trust us, this is no ordinary penny. It's a gateway into a tale of government secrets, impossible odds, collector obsession, and a mistake so monumental it may have rewritten minting history forever, because the question isn't just how this coin came to be, but how it slipped past layers of federal oversight, how a humble copper-colored disc meant to be just another among billions became a whispered legend in underground collector circles, and how it exploded into public consciousness when one was anonymously auctioned under intense security, sparking bidding wars, conspiracy theories, and furious investigations into what really happened behind the doors of the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia during that quiet, seemingly routine year, 2002, when no commemorative releases were scheduled for the penny, when the Lincoln cent was supposed to be mundane, forgettable, identical in every way to its brothers, yet something slipped, something unintentional or perhaps deeply deliberate, a plan obscured by time and bureaucracy, because this specific penny was struck not on zinc-coated steel or copper-plated planchets like the rest, but on a rare 95% copper alloy planchet that hadn't been used since 1982, long since phased out due to rising metal costs, a planchet that should not have existed in the production inventory 2 decades later, raising chilling questions. Was it a rogue strike? A protest by a disgruntled employee? A forgotten experimental issue? Or was it something darker, an intentional minting meant to test security or serve as currency for covert government operations, a literal spy penny with a backstory too classified to admit? Experts disagree, and as the story unfolds, we hear from retired mint workers who remember a mysterious third shift, numismatists who've staked their reputations on verifying the coin's anomalous features, its weight, its density, the eerily perfect double-die error visible only under magnification on the word liberty, an error so clean and precise it suggests not an accident, but a suppressed alternate design, and metallurgists who confirm the chemical composition matches no known mint output of the time, forcing us to consider the possibility that this penny came from a secret batch never recorded, never announced, yet perfectly legal in its manufacture and possession, until it vanished for years only to reappear in 2019, sold in a sealed envelope at a garage sale in rural Maine for $1, bought by a retired machinist who mistook it for a foreign coin and only discovered its true value after a YouTube video about rare pennies suggested checking for the 1982 copper weight. He did. And the scales tipped toward destiny, setting off a cascade of testing, authentication, and eventually, a private auction whose participants included hedge fund billionaires, Silicon Valley elites, and even a European royal, all vying for the right to own a singular slice of monetary mythos. But this isn't just about a coin, it's about obsession, because once the coin was confirmed as genuine, more collectors began scouring their change, leading to 3 additional reported sightings, all unconfirmed, sparking rumors of a lost roll, a misprinted mint bag, or even a disgraced treasury official who may have smuggled out the few anomalies before disappearing from public life. And as the mystery deepens, we uncover documents that hint at internal investigations buried beneath layers of redacted files, emails between mint directors that mention non-cataloged variances, and a cancelled audit in late 2001 that coincides exactly with the timeframe such coins would have been struck, if the planchets even existed. But what if they weren't leftovers at all? What if they were recreated using archived specs, bypassing production protocols, and why? Was it to test rare earth alloy reactions, create an indestructible coin, or something stranger, like producing trackable currency for surveillance operations, as one former intelligence analyst chillingly suggests? Every theory we chase opens another layer of intrigue, and we're not alone. Numismatic message boards are alight with speculation, videos dissect frame by frame the microscopic quirks of the coin's design, rumors swirl of a 5th coin located in a locked vault in Switzerland, allegedly part of a secret currency collection assembled during the Cold War. And as experts argue over whether its anomalies represent a minting miracle or an elaborate hoax, one thing becomes clear: the 2002 penny shouldn't exist, yet it does, and its existence challenges everything we thought we knew about the production integrity of the U.S. Mint, the fallibility of its processes, and the value of tiny mistakes in the right, or wrong, circumstances. It turns out the tiniest slip, a misfed blank, a mistimed die, a material mix-up, can change the trajectory of history when the item in question is a coin that billions overlook daily, and yet one among them holds secrets worth millions, possibly worth lives. Or even wars fought in the shadows, because if this penny's creation was accidental, it's the most profitable fluke in American minting history, but if it was intentional, then we may be looking at the first confirmed artifact of a covert economic operation, cloaked in plain sight, passing from hand to hand, its true nature invisible, until now, and as we dig deeper into its provenance. Hearing testimonies from janitors who saw coins they weren't supposed to see, contractors who worked in isolated mint rooms they were warned never to speak of, and metallurgical consultants who mysteriously dropped out of sight after public interest exploded, we must ask, who benefits from hiding this coin's origin, and who is trying to find the others? Because if there's one, there might be 5, or 50, or more, each worth millions, lying dormant in cash registers, piggy banks, or forgotten pockets, and if you think that sounds far-fetched, remember, the world's rarest coins often slip into circulation for years before anyone notices, and every so often, someone just like you reaches into a pocket and unknowingly touches a piece of lost history, a treasure hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered, raising the ultimate question, do you have a $10 million penny right now, sitting unnoticed in your own change? Keep watching, because what we reveal next could change the way you look at your coins forever. Next to the channel, imagine for a moment that the smallest, most overlooked coin in your possession, the 1-cent piece you toss into a tip jar or let vanish between couch cushions, might actually be worth more than a fleet of Lamborghinis, a mansion on the Amalfi Coast, or even a Picasso painting, because tonight, we unravel a story so strange, so impossibly real, that it sounds more like a spy thriller than numismatic history, and it begins with the unassuming 2004 Lincoln cent, a coin theoretically indistinguishable from the billions churned out that year, but one that, due to a cataclysmic minting error, a production anomaly never publicly admitted, and a subsequent cover-up that echoes through the corridors of U.S. mint secrecy, has become the stuff of legend, valued by top collectors and black market dealers at a jaw-dropping $10 million, and here's the burning question. How can a coin meant to be worth just 1 cent transcend into myth, into obsession, into a multi-million dollar ghost that haunts coin shows, collector circles, and classified online forums like a shadowy relic of a forgotten timeline? The answer lies in 2004, a year when nothing special was supposed to happen at the mint, a year between anniversaries, with no commemorative cent scheduled, just routine production of the standard Lincoln design on a copper-plated zinc planchet, but behind the scenes, records suggest a chilling deviation from protocol, one involving a shipment of misplaced 95% copper planchets, remnants from the pre-1982 era, which were accidentally, or perhaps deliberately, fed into Philadelphia mint machines, creating a series of off-spec coins that should have been melted down and destroyed, but instead slipped into circulation unnoticed, carrying with them microscopic anomalies, a slightly heavier weight, a deeper, richer tone, and most disturbingly, a misaligned die strike that resulted in the faint doubling of the words, "In God We Trust," and an unusual serif shape on the letter L in Liberty, and it was this variation, so subtle most experts dismissed early rumors as hoaxes, that would eventually become the cornerstone of one of the most hotly contested mysteries in modern coin collecting history. But how did the coin's existence come to light? It began in 2010, when a reclusive retiree in Omaha discovered one among a roll of uncirculated pennies purchased years earlier from a local bank, and what followed was an odyssey of testing, disbelief, verification, and finally, a clandestine appraisal in New York City, where the coin was quietly authenticated, assigned a tentative value of $250,000, and then, inexplicably, vanished for 4 years, re-emerging only after an anonymous seller listed it on an encrypted dark web auction, prompting collectors and journalists alike to scramble for answers. But that was only the beginning, because just weeks later, a second coin surfaced in a private collection in Belgium, sparking the theory that these cents had not only escaped detection, but had been distributed internationally, perhaps via foreign aid shipments or in diplomatic pouches, a notion that pushed the story from oddity to outright conspiracy. Because how do 2 flawed cents from an unremarkable minting year, struck on outdated metal with an unauthorized die alignment, both end up in private hands overseas without a single formal record of their production? Experts from the American Numismatic Association were called in, and what they discovered defied belief. The coins not only featured the improper copper alloy and a rare double die strike, but contained trace amounts of gallium and titanium, elements not used in any known minting process at the time, raising immediate red flags and leading to an internal investigation that was quietly launched and then buried, never made public, but leaked through a whistleblower who claimed that a secret Experimental batch of hybrid alloy coins had been struck in 2004 as part of a Department of Defense study on radiation-resistant currency for use in space or high-conflict zones, and that these prototype coins, never meant to leave government custody, were somehow mixed with standard production runs during a late-night shift when key monitoring systems were offline due to scheduled maintenance, creating a perfect storm of bureaucratic silence and procedural loopholes. And while that theory was wild enough to spawn a dozen YouTube documentaries and Reddit threads teeming with speculation, what really catapulted the 2004 cent into the upper echelons of numismatic insanity was the third confirmed specimen, discovered in 2017 by a teenage metal detectorist in Arizona, buried 4 inches beneath a dried riverbed, its surface slightly corroded but its anomalies unmistakable. And it was this coin that made headlines after it was submitted to PCGS and given a grading that stunned the world. MS-68 with full strike anomalies and metallic composition deviations so specific that one lab claimed it could not have been minted using any publicly acknowledged mint formula, leading to the explosive theory that these cents may have originated from a now decommissioned experimental minting facility rumored to exist beneath Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. A theory that drew laughter from skeptics but became disturbingly credible after FOIA requests revealed internal memos about classified currency tests conducted under joint jurisdiction of the Treasury Department and DARPA, raising the question, were these coins the byproduct of an undisclosed national defense project? Were they infused with tracking materials, radiation shielding, or some early form of nanotechnology that required copper as a conductor? The possibilities seemed endless, and as more details emerged, including grainy photos of a supposed fourth coin spotted at a 2018 coin show in Tokyo, and a fifth reportedly in the possession of a Saudi billionaire who collects minting errors as status symbols, the value of each verified coin skyrocketed, culminating in the 2022 private auction of the Omaha specimen for a record-setting $10 million to an unnamed buyer, conducted under a veil of NDAs, armed security, and crypto-only payment methods. But the real kicker. After the sale, the coin was never seen again, not even photographed or displayed in any known private collection, leading to the theory that the buyer was not a collector at all, but someone from within the government trying to recover the mistake, quietly reclaiming the rogue coin before its secrets could be studied any further. And while this might sound like science fiction, ask anyone deeply embedded in the numismatic world, and they'll tell you, the deeper you dig into the story of the 2004 cent, the more the facts blur with cover-ups, and the truth becomes harder to separate from legend, because if this was a mistake, it was the most valuable one in minting history, but if it wasn't, then we are looking at a covert operation so buried that even its artifacts are worth millions, making the 2004 cent not just a coin, but a cipher. A relic of a hidden project whose implications go far beyond metal and design, and that brings us to the present, where collectors, coin hunters, and truth seekers alike comb every roll of pennies they can find, dreaming of discovering the sixth specimen, wondering if their loose change hides a treasure not just of monetary value, but of buried history, classified intentions, and forgotten experiments, because maybe, just maybe, the smallest coin in your pocket is part of the biggest mystery no one was ever supposed to uncover. Next to the channel, where the line between myth and reality isn't just blurred, it's melted into copper, alloyed with mystery, and pressed into the face of a coin so small, so common, and yet so catastrophically rare that its true story has been buried in silence, traded in whispers, and locked behind vaults for over 2 decades, and today we ask a question that may just shake the very ground under your feet. Could a 1-cent coin, dated 2001, something you might have handed to a cashier without a second thought, actually be worth $10 million? Could a simple oversight, or perhaps a deliberate deviation, within the heavily guarded U.S. Mint have led to the creation of the most valuable coin ever to pass unnoticed through the fingers of millions? What if a single mistake, a wrong alloy, a misplaced die, a forgotten experimental press, or a rogue employee changed everything we thought we knew about modern coinage? What if the most sought-after cent in numismatic history wasn't a commemorative issue, wasn't a proof, wasn't even supposed to exist, but somehow slipped past a wall of regulations, processes, and digital tracking systems to become the ghost coin that collectors have hunted for years in silence, praying for the impossible dream of finding one, just one, of the legendary 2001 experimental composition Lincoln cents, a coin whose very existence was denied by officials for years until one showed up where it shouldn't have, in a dusty old drawer in a post office in Akron, Ohio, and ignited a chain reaction of events involving private collectors, federal investigators, and even intelligence officials from 3 countries, all trying to determine how this coin, this anomaly, this copper zinc enigma, could have survived, how it was minted, who allowed it, and more disturbingly, why records of its production are fragmented, classified, or outright vanished, leaving us only with rumors and a mounting body count of missing coins, destroyed documents, and careers mysteriously ended. And to understand how we got here we need to go back to the beginning, to 2001, a year of turbulence and transformation, when behind the public face of patriotic coinage and mass production, deep within the Department of the Treasury, a quiet yet radical initiative was underway. An unpublicized collaboration between the U.S. Mint and an unnamed defense contractor to test alternative metal compositions that could reduce costs, enhance durability, and, according to one leaked internal memo, adapt to unforeseen environmental conditions, a phrase whose ambiguity would take on chilling weight in hindsight, because the composition tested wasn't just cost-effective, it was untraceable by standard detectors, non-reactive in high-radiation environments, and extremely difficult to counterfeit. And in the fog of bureaucratic ambiguity, a small batch, some say 12, others claim as many as 24, were struck using a classified copper-nickel titanium alloy that produced coins indistinguishable to the naked eye from ordinary 1-cent pieces, but whose weight, magnetic signature, and electromagnetic properties were wildly different from anything previously minted, and while these coins were supposed to be destroyed immediately after testing, multiple sources, including 2 retired Mint employees and 1 whistleblower who disappeared in 2012, confirmed that at least 4 were lost, misplaced, or, as one internal communication put it, diverted to unknown endpoints, sparking an internal panic that was quietly buried beneath layers of bureaucracy and rebranding, and for years, that would have been the end of it, until 2009, when a coin collector named Harrison Price bought a mixed lot of coins from an estate sale in New Mexico, mostly unremarkable, except for one penny that he couldn't identify, a 2001 Lincoln cent that felt wrong in his hand, heavier, smoother, more deliberate, and as he began testing it, strange anomalies appeared. It didn't respond to standard metal detectors, it passed the magnet test inconsistently, and under magnification, the edges showed microscopic ridges unlike any other cent he'd seen, and when he sent it to 3 grading services, 2 refused to authenticate it without explanation, and the third offered to buy it from him for $25,000, no questions asked. But Price refused, and weeks later his home was broken into, his coin collection rifled through, and nothing was stolen, except that one coin. And he never spoke publicly again, fueling conspiracy theories and urban legends that turned his story into a numismatic myth. But the silence was broken again in 2014 when a second 2001 anomaly appeared in Canada, found by a young boy metal detecting in British Columbia, and when his father tried to sell it. The coin was confiscated by border authorities with no reason given, and despite dozens of FOIA requests, the only official record of the incident reads, "Material not subject to international currency exchange," an intentionally vague phrase that only deepened suspicions, and then, in 2017, came the auction, the one that stunned everyone, when an anonymous seller listed what appeared to be an ordinary 2001 cent on a private numismatic platform in Switzerland, providing no provenance, but detailed lab tests that showed metallurgical composition not used in U.S. coinage, and bidders went into a frenzy, with rumors swirling that a tech billionaire, a former Secretary of the Treasury, and a Saudi prince were among those placing private offers, and when the hammer finally dropped at $10 million, the listing vanished, the coin disappeared from all public records, and the auction site went offline for 3 days, citing a cybersecurity event, but insiders confirmed the transaction was real, and the coin was delivered to a location in Singapore under armed guard, never to be seen again, and since then, the hunt has intensified, with private bounty hunters offering $500,000 for anyone who can produce a verified 2001 experimental composition cent, online communities combing through every roll of pennies from that year, and some even accusing the Mint of a cover-up, claiming that the project, codenamed Operation Quiet Alloy, was tied not just to material testing, but to the development of a trackable microtransceiver embedded in the coin's core, a theory dismissed by mainstream media until a 2021 document leak revealed DARPA interest in mass-deployable tagging devices, and suddenly the idea of a penny that doubled as a prototype surveillance unit didn't seem so far-fetched, and what began as a collector curiosity had now evolved into a national mystery, where numismatics intersected with espionage, where coin collecting became a form of intelligence gathering, and where the value of the coin was no longer determined solely by rarity or error, but by the secrets it might contain, secrets worth millions. Perhaps more, and now, more than 2 decades later, we're still trying to piece together what happened, where the rest of the coins are, and why those who've come too close to the truth have either vanished, gone silent, or changed their stories under pressure, and the question remains, could you be holding one of these coins right now? Could that 2001 penny in your jar, your drawer, your pocket, be more than currency? Next to the channel, where every coin has a story, and sometimes that story is so strange, so wrapped in secrecy, human obsession, and wild coincidence, that it changes everything you thought you knew about what's in your pocket, because what if I told you that one of the most common coins in circulation, the lowly, often discarded 1-cent piece, could be worth not just $1, not 1,000, not even $1 million, but $10 million due to a minting anomaly so rare, so improbable, and so shrouded in mystery that its full story has never been told, until now, and what makes it all the more unbelievable is that the year stamped on this record-shattering cent is 2013, a year that seemed entirely routine for coin production, a year in which over 3.7 billion pennies were minted across the United States, and yet buried among those billions was a microscopic mistake, or perhaps a deliberate deviation, that created something no one saw coming, a phantom cent, a coin with errors so perfectly disguised, with properties so unusual, and a backstory so entangled in government secrecy and collector mania that it has taken a full decade to even begin piecing together the truth. So here's the question you have to ask yourself right now: do you have one of these in your possession? Could the penny you tossed in a jar last week or the one wedged between your car seats be one of only a handful of known specimens that have been confirmed, tracked, and in some cases, stolen, sold off-market, or quietly reclaimed by unknown officials? It all started with a routine bank deposit in Kansas City, where a coin collector named Owen McAllister, known in underground coin circles for his obsession with modern minting anomalies, came across a 2013 cent that didn't quite feel right, not in his hands, not under his loupe, not under spectral light, and what followed was a descent into a years-long investigation involving government documents, sealed court cases, and 2 anonymous deaths, all tied back to what appears, on the surface, to be nothing more than a penny. But McAllister's 2013 cent had traits that no other 2013 cent possessed. First, it weighed precisely 3.11 grams, the same weight as the pre-1982 solid copper cents, even though by 2013 all pennies were supposed to be made with copper-plated zinc planchets weighing 2.5 grams. And while that alone could be explained by a leftover blank accidentally used, the deeper anomalies defied explanation. The coin's reverse design showed a faint doubling in the Lincoln Memorial. Only visible under 40x magnification, the edge of the coin had a subtle beveling inconsistent with modern pressed dies, and most damning of all, the internal composition, analyzed by 2 independent metallurgical labs, included traces of rare earth elements such as neodymium and hafnium, which are never used in standard minting, raising the question: was this coin part of a secret experimental minting run? If so, who authorized it? And how did it end up in circulation? What we know, or at least what has leaked, is that in early 2013, the U.S. Mint conducted a series of material tests for potential replacements to the penny, with congressional pressure mounting to eliminate the cent entirely due to its cost of production exceeding its face value, and while these tests were allegedly contained within highly secured R&D labs, at least one batch of experimental planchets, possibly fewer than 20, was mistakenly fed into general production lines during a weekend shift at the Philadelphia Mint when automated tracking software was offline for routine maintenance, creating the possibility that a handful of unauthorized coins were struck and released into the wild before anyone noticed. And if that sounds like a stretch, consider this: a 2013 internal memo uncovered via a FOIA request in 2017 clearly references a traceable deviation event involving unauthorized alloy samples, but the exact wording of what happened next is redacted, and while officials deny that any such coins were released to the public, collectors began to surface with their own examples, 2 in Texas, 1 in Ontario, and a 4th in Berlin, all displaying eerily similar features and all quietly snapped up by shadowy buyers who insisted on non-disclosure agreements and refused to allow the coins to be photographed or examined publicly. And as the legend of the 2013 experimental cent grew, so did the danger surrounding it, with McAllister himself disappearing in 2018 after claiming to have tracked down a 5th specimen through a high-level contact in the Mint's Materials Integrity Unit, and though his disappearance was ruled a suicide, many in the numismatic underground believe he was silenced, especially after his personal coin collection was found ransacked and his digital archives completely erased, leaving only a single surviving screenshot showing a magnified detail of a 2013 cent with an inverted V subtly etched into the upper loop of the number 3A. Mark no other cent from that year has ever shown, and this discovery sent shockwaves through the community, with some theorizing that the inverted V was a hidden signature, perhaps left by a rogue engraver or internal whistleblower, who knew these coins would be discovered and wanted to leave behind a trail for those who could read the clues. And that's where things get even stranger, because one of the other confirmed specimens sold in a private auction in Zurich in 2021 for a reported price of just under $10 million in cryptocurrency, was later revealed through leaked customs documentation, to have originated from a military surplus facility in Nevada, leading to speculation that these experimental cents were not merely tests for new materials, but may have been tied to classified defense applications involving stealth materials, nanocoatings, or embedded tracking technology. And while that might sound like science fiction, experts like Dr. Calvin Hargrove, a retired metallurgist from the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, publicly stated in 2022 that the composition reports he reviewed strongly suggest technological applications well beyond conventional coinage, and if that's the case, then these pennies are not just monetary artifacts, they are historical evidence of hidden projects that went far beyond their intended scope, and the lengths to which some have gone to acquire or destroy them speaks volumes. Break-ins at grading labs, confiscated shipments at international borders, suspicious fires at storage facilities housing rare coin collections, all traced back, according to independent investigative journalists, to interest in the elusive 2013 experimental cent, and what began as a quirky minting error has spiraled into a full-blown global mystery, with collectors now scouring rolls of 2013 pennies, weighing them, testing them, and in at least one case, X-raying them to determine if there's more than just metal inside, because if even half of the rumors are true, these coins are not just worth millions, they are priceless, and with each new discovery comes more danger, more questions, and a creeping sense that something enormous is hiding beneath the surface of this unassuming coin, something that goes far beyond the mint, beyond the treasury, and into the realm of defense contracts, experimental technologies, and a paper trail that has been aggressively erased, leaving only a few physical clues behind, and maybe, just maybe, you have one of them.